Hello, my name is Michael Bartlett, metaphysical astrologer, and I'm here to discuss the May 2023 astrological forecast. Please note, of course, that all the dates and times are approximate. Please adjust for your place on Earth. And most of what I'll be talking about this month is what I talk about each month are what we call fourth harmonic forecasts. The fourth harmonic are the more challenging aspects in astrology. They are the conjunction, square, and opposition. And in the sense of how they work, they are any of the, if you think of the whole wheel, the zodiac wheel as being 360 degrees, which is a circle, and you divide by 4, you get all the numbers that are involved with the fourth harmonic. I want to give great thanks to Christine Cianci, who actually hand painted all of the Astro Theater figures, like what you see behind me, which is the moon in Aquarius. These are the figures I use for my forecast. You can visit her website at www.cccianciart.com. And please feel free to visit my website, coremichael.com, coremichael.com. They're at the bottom of each one of the slides in case you miss them. And you will, once you sign up, you can get my free 2023 retrograde calendar, which shows which planets are in retrograde motion for what parts of the year. I've now started doing a little more depth and work with clients who are going through challenging periods of time by transit and progression, or simply wanting to work on issues that are in their natal chart. As we all know, there are supportive aspects and challenging aspects in the chart, and it's really nice when we are able to access and utilize the supportive elements when we want and are able to address and work with the challenging aspects when we need, so that we are able to work with them consciously as opposed to them working with us unconsciously. There's going to be a few challenging days this month. No question about it. We start out the 1st of May with the Pluto. It's got to take a moment for this to go in here. Pluto is going into its retrograde motion in Aquarius, getting ready to go back into Capricorn for its first of its 2 retrograde periods going back into Capricorn. On the 1st of May, also, we have the computer is acting very slowly today. Sun-Mercury conjunction in Taurus. Mercury, of course, is still in its retrograde motion. So these are, I think it's really a good time for us to take a little more time. Uranus is already there, of course, in Taurus as well. When planets are in Taurus, we want to take things a little more carefully, take a little more time. We want to really actually stop and sniff the roses, if not eat them. So it's, as you see here with these figures, they're laying on a chaise longue, they're sipping wine, they're eating grapes. It's about luxury. They're in a vault with money, a golden calf, people's safe deposit boxes behind them. So, this is where, carve out a little space for yourself and give some time to communicate with things. This is, of course, with Mercury in retrograde. We want to focus on all the RE activities like rest, relaxation, rejuvenation, revisiting. Not the time, obviously, to make choices and decisions about things, but to really kind of review and research. Those are also 2 RE words. With the sun being there, it's going to be a little hard. It's going to communicate what do you want? What do you desire? Taurus is ruled by the planet Venus. Venus wants things to be harmonious, wants to be delicious, wants to be pretty. So what do you need to do to make that happen in your life? On the 4th of May, there is an opening square between Venus and Jupiter, Venus in Gemini and Jupiter in Pisces. I'm sorry, Neptune in Pisces, Neptune Venus square. This can be a time period when it's an issue of not sure whether the decisions that were made when Venus was conjunct Neptune are what we really want to do. These are in the mutable signs, of course, of Pisces and Gemini. So what I like to say with the opening square is 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It's you have this great idea, you're going to be moving forward with it, and you come back and you're like, well, wait a minute, I need to kind of review things a little bit. So especially since this time is still, in this period of Mercury retrograde in between the 2 eclipses, just do a little more due diligence. Make sure that the idea or the option that is being presented to you is actually what it is, and it isn't a flight of fancy or something that fits into your idealism, but maybe isn't the reality of your situation. On the 5th of May, we have the second half of our eclipse finishing up. We have a lunar eclipse with the sun at 14 degrees, 58 minutes of Taurus, and the moon completely opposite it in Scorpio at 14 degrees, 58 minutes. This is a wonderful diagram from NASA. We can see here that the moon is making its orbit around the Earth. And as it does so, the moon is behind. It gets the Earth to cast a shadow onto the moon from the sun because the light source is obviously coming from the sun, and therefore gives us what's called the lunar eclipse. Be interesting to see what gets open on that. It's a Mexican holiday, Cinco de Mayo. So really review what shows up, what gets seen. It's from Taurus to Scorpio. We've already, as we discussed earlier, we've got that focus of energy in Taurus of the sun, Mercury, and Uranus. So it's a good opportunity to see how you're dealing with your resources, other people's resources. Are you making sure your needs are getting met? Are you discussing things? What's going on in your sexual relationships? Those sorts of things can be up for grabs. Of course, this is going to be activating the fixed signs of Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius from 4 to 24 degrees. And it's still being activated because of the solar eclipse, which was on the 20th of April, which is affecting the cardinal signs of Mercury, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn from 20 to 29 degrees. So if you have any planets in these ranges, in these signs, chances are you're going to be feeling a little bit of the pressure. On the 7th of May, Venus leaves the sign of Gemini and moves into the sign of Cancer. This is another wonderful time for things to be slowed down a little bit. What is our self-care? What do we need to do to nurture ourselves? Making contact with our family, our clan. What do we need to do to nurture our inner child? I like, using these images, as examples. And so here's Venus carrying a baby and has the bottle of milk. And so, nurturing, what do we need to do to nurture ourselves? She was really busy in Gemini getting things done, and now she's moved into slower Cancer. Well, Cancer is the cardinal sign. We have to remember that crabs walk sideways. So a lot of times with Cancer, things aren't as direct. So coming from this place of Gemini asking so many questions, she kind of hides out a little bit in Cancer and maybe might not answer questions as directly or be as ready to be response able, which is what I think when with planets in Gemini. On the 9th of May, Uranus and the sun are doing a conjunction. This can bring all kinds of sorts of surprises. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the stock market, of course, because that's volatile, and usually the stock market, as we can see from all the little safe deposit boxes in the background there, it deals with people's money and resources. So expect maybe some ups and downs. One of the ways that you can maybe play and have fun with this energy might be to buy some lottery tickets, depending on what kind of aspects you have to this placement. And of course, Mercury is still doing its retrograde movement there in Taurus. And on that 14th, he starts to go direct. Once he goes direct, of course, he'll be coming back, hitting that sun, hitting Uranus, so we'll get a little bit more activity. Mercury and the sun are always pretty close to one another. I believe it's something like 28 degrees. It really can't be too far off from one another. And when Mercury and Uranus have another affinity in that they are considered octaves of one another, Mercury being the lower or the more personality or traditional orientation of how we process and think of things, and Uranus being more on the esoteric level and more of a higher functioning level of integrating and synthesis. So now Pluto is the only planet that is retrograde until the 17th of June when Saturn starts to go retrograde as well. So this is also another great period until the 17th of June to get things done, depending upon what sort of aspects that Pluto at the very earliest degrees of Aquarius and latest degrees of Capricorn are doing in your chart, and also how Pluto operates in your natal chart as well. Great time for reviewing transformational things. If you're really wanting to do like a major overhaul of the way you approach life, this, it's a good time while Pluto's in retrograde in Aquarius. On the 16th of May, we can see here, we've got Mercury, Sun, and Uranus in Taurus. We've got Jupiter and Chiron in Aries. Jupiter moves out of his active sign of Aries and moves into relaxing, luxurious, somewhat stubborn Taurus, right? This is like what we call a stellium, when 3 or more planets are in the same sign. Used to be 4 planets, but a lot of times people give 3, but definitely this qualifies. We have Jupiter in Taurus, Mercury in Taurus, Sun in Taurus, and Uranus in Taurus, all 4 moving, going forward. So it's a great opportunity for them to find their ways and get things done in status of doing things in a patient manner, or of being more coming from a standpoint of being reviewing things that need to be done as far as one's resources. Then on the 20th of May, Mars, who's been hanging out in Cancer, is going to be moving over into more expressive Leo sign. Another opportunity for, kind of delving in and seeing what it is your desires are, how you want to get things done, how you want to create and manifest for yourself. On the 20th of May, that Mars, being at the early degrees of Leo, is of course making a square to Pluto at the earliest degrees of Aquarius. This is not a fun time. This can be very challenging. I don't know what I was thinking with square. It's an opposition. So this is really a power opposition. So I'd be careful on the 20th of May that Pluto, what kind of a figure might show up for you with Pluto versus Mars in the ways in which you're driving, trying to get things done in your own personal way. And there are outer forces at work that will make things not so happy. If you have planets around the early degrees of the fixed signs, just be a little more careful, because this is going to be, this can, I wouldn't necessarily call it an accident. Like if this was Uranus instead of Pluto, I would see maybe accident energy, but with Pluto being there, it's still asking for some pound of flesh, so to speak. On the 21st of May, of course, that Sun leaves Taurus and moves into active sign of Gemini, leaving Jupiter, Mercury, and Uranus behind, and starting to do more of an active part of spring, getting into summer, being the transitional here up in the Northern Hemisphere. On the 22nd and 23rd of May, we have a painful aspect. As we talked about earlier, we have the Mars-Pluto opposition, and that is making a T-square with that Jupiter at the very earliest degrees of Taurus. Jupiter, Pluto, Mars, these are kind of big heavyweights in a way in the chart. So be careful of altercations. The access point, or what's going to really be activated, is that earliest degrees of Scorpio. So if you have a planet there in the early degrees of Scorpio, expect that it's going to get activated. Try and keep your temper toned. Try and find ways that you can step away from a situation whenever possible. This is really quite fiery and confrontational. On the 24th of May, we have Chiron having an opening square with Venus. This can be an issue of, what kind of security, what is it that I'm doing that I'm valuing of myself that I might doubt? Other people might be coming in, Venus and Cancer's family members and clan, and they might be wanting to be pulling you away from taking care of yourself. That Chiron's going to kind of awaken you to the need for self-care over other care first. Like on the airplane, when they say, put that oxygen mask on yourself before you put it on the baby or your child. On the 28th of May, we have another opening square, 3 opening squares this month. We have the Sun that is square to Saturn, Sun in Gemini squaring Saturn in Pisces. This is obviously a mutable, but this is going to be an active thing. This could be like going around doing things and not, starting a bunch of different things and not finishing them. This would be a great weekend actually do cleaning your house. That'd be a wonderful opportunity with this energy. Deciding, making those 3 piles, 1 pile for garbage, 1 pile for donation, and the other pile that you're keeping. That is the forecast for the month of May. And I wanted, as I said earlier on, I am sitting with this idea that I've been working on of helping people to work with their natal chart, as well as what's going on by transit and progression, help support them, making and seeing the understanding that transformation typically doesn't happen in a 60 or 90-degree session. So through supporting you in a weekly, bi-weekly, or once a month basis to support you, guiding you through the processes of supporting your supportive aspects and bringing to light and consciousness your challenging aspects, we'll be doing some really great work with one another. As you know, I'm the author of the Astrological Mavericks and Astro Theater. And I thank you for joining me today. On the 22nd of June, I'm going to be doing a free webinar for Kepler College on Astrological Mavericks. Please visit them at keplercollege.org. Thank you so much for joining me today, and hope you have a wonderful May and are able to keep yourself as conscious and in your light as possible. Blessings to you and yours. Thank you.